The hallway was supposed to echo with laughter, not cruelty. But that day, whispers turned into jeers, and jeers turned into blows. A young black girl lay unconscious on the cold school floor, her body broken, her spirit silenced by bullies who saw difference as weakness. The teachers, they looked away. The school, it buried the truth. But what no one expected was the storm that followed. Because behind that girl stood a mother, a force of nature who would stop at nothing to tear down the walls that allowed such hatred to thrive. Her name was Aaliyah. Quiet, brilliant, and full of dreams that stretched far beyond the small town where she lived. Every morning, she walked through the school gates with a notebook clutched to her chest, her imagination her only shield against the cruelty of peers. For months, the bullying simmered beneath the surface. Snide comments, shoved lockers, whispers that stung more than words should. Teachers pretended not to notice. Administrators brushed it off as kids being kids. But one late afternoon, everything changed. Aaliyah stayed behind after class, sketching in her notebook, when 3 students cornered her. What began as taunts escalated into shoves, then fists. The assault was brutal, merciless, and when it ended, Aaliyah was left in a coma. The news shattered her mother, Denise. A woman who had sacrificed everything to give her daughter a chance at a better life, now stood in a hospital room, holding her child's limp hand. Grief ignited into fury, and fury into purpose. This wasn't just about her daughter anymore. It was about every ignored voice, every buried complaint, every black child silenced by a system that chose convenience over justice. Denise began with questions. She demanded answers from the school, but doors closed faster than they opened. The principal issued hollow apologies, more worried about reputation than responsibility. Teachers mumbled excuses, and parents whispered, maybe she provoked it. But Denise refused silence. She gathered evidence, medical reports, testimonies, screenshots of hateful messages. She reached out to local reporters, sparking a fire the school could no longer contain. The story hit headlines, and suddenly the town couldn't look away. Community members rallied, shocked at the brutality and even more shocked at the school's negligence. Protesters stood outside the gates, holding signs that screamed for accountability. Yet behind closed doors, the administration still tried to downplay the attack, calling it an isolated incident. Denise's fight grew louder. She confronted the school board, her voice shaking not from fear, but from rage. She described the night she found her daughter in a hospital bed, hooked to machines that breathed for her. Each word was a dagger, exposing the rot hidden within the institution. The room fell silent, but Denise wasn't finished. She threatened lawsuits, filed complaints with state officials, and pushed until the school's carefully constructed walls of indifference began to crack. The breaking point came during a heated school board meeting. Denise arrived, not alone, but with a crowd of parents, activists, and reporters. Under the blinding lights of cameras, she laid bare every failure, every ignored warning, every time the school chose silence over protection. The bullies were suspended, but Denise demanded more. She wanted systemic change. The board tried to shut her down, but the pressure was unstoppable. Petitions surged, protests grew, and soon the district superintendent had no choice but to act. The principal resigned in disgrace, policies were rewritten, and the entire town watched as a mother's fury dismantled the complacency of an entire institution. Weeks later, Aaliyah opened her eyes. Weak, but alive. She saw her mother's tearful smile, the face of a warrior who had turned her pain into power. The fight wasn't over, but a door had been opened. The school introduced new anti-bullying programs, diversity training, and stricter accountability measures. Parents who once stayed silent now spoke up. Denise's battle became a symbol far beyond her town, a reminder that silence is complicity, and that change often begins with one voice refusing to be ignored. The story ends, not in despair, but in warning. How many more Aaliyahs must suffer before schools truly protect their children? And how many mothers must rise from tragedy to force the world to finally listen?